He didn't line up against the world champion. He didn't stand next to the Olympic medalists. And yet, he walked away from Monaco with the loudest applause of the night. Gout Gout. A name that doesn't just sound explosive, it's becoming one. Just 17 years old, the Australian sprinter has become one of the most electrifying new names in global track and field. In Monaco, at the iconic Hercules Diamond League, Gout delivered a statement race. 10 seconds in the 200 meters, into a punishing 1.9 meters per second headwind. It wasn't just fast, it was world class. That time, adjusted for conditions, puts him in the sub-20 conversation already. But there was one detail that had everyone talking. He didn't run in the main Diamond League 200-meter final. He didn't face Noah Lyles, Letzel Tebogo, or any of the sport's current titans. Instead, Gout Gout competed and won in the under-23 event. A lower-profile race, away from the global TV spotlight. And that decision sparked more curiosity than even the time itself. Why would the fastest 17-year-old in the world skip a chance to race the best? Why sidestep a headline-grabbing showdown, especially when the cameras were rolling? To the casual fan, it looked strange, maybe even soft. But to those inside the sport, those who've studied careers like Usain Bolt's, Noah Lyles, or even Fred Kerley's, the answer might be more complex. This wasn't about fear. It wasn't about shyness. This might have been one of the most calculated moves we've seen in track this season. Because while the rest of the field was chasing headlines, Gout Gout may have been playing a longer game, not just to be noticed, but to be remembered. Let's rewind. Gout Gout exploded onto the scene in 2023, setting national junior records in Australia and becoming an internet sensation with clips of his raw speed and shockingly mature form for his age. In May 2024, he clocked 2012 at the Golden Spike meet in Ostrava, already one of the fastest ever runs by a teenager, placing him among elite company globally. So when Monaco announced its lineup, fans were buzzing. Would this be his true debut on the world stage? Would he finally face off against seasoned pros under the lights of one of the most prestigious meets on Earth? Technically, he did debut at Monaco, but not in the race most people expected. That Sunday evening, Gout Gout calmly stepped into the blocks, not in front of Noah Lyles or in a primetime broadcast heat, but in the U23 race, far less visible, far less hyped. And when the gun fired, he didn't just win, he annihilated the field. His time of 2010 wasn't just a personal best. It was the fastest ever 200-meter time by an Australian teenager, and one of the fastest by anyone globally under 18. More impressively, he did it into a significant headwind. Under neutral conditions, statisticians suggest that run could have translated to a sub-19.90 performance. When he crossed the line, there was no showboating, no press conference moment, just a quiet celebration, and a mob of fans and photographers who rushed toward the teenager, sensing something big had just happened. And that's when the questions began. Why was Gout Gout racing against U23s and not the world's best? Was it nerves, coaching strategy, a missed opportunity? Or was it something more deliberate? A patient move in a sport that often rewards those who don't burn too fast, too soon. Because if you were watching closely, Gout didn't dodge the spotlight, he bent it. And what happened in Monaco might just be the start of a sprinting revolution. What makes Gout Gout's choice even more fascinating? At the very same Monaco meeting, another champion took clear notice: Noah Lyles. Later that evening, Lyles dominated the senior 200-meter final in 19.88 seconds, an emphatic comeback from injury, directly up against Olympic star Lyles Tebogo. The contrast? Lyles sought out the spotlight. Gout stepped away from it. It wasn't about hiding. It was about intelligent progression. At 17, Gout Gout is still classified as a junior athlete. Racing U23 against competitors aged up to 22 gave him space to grow without overwhelming pressure. The U23 race removed the need to chase veterans who've built seasons around Monaco's glow. Instead, he could focus entirely on hitting his stride. Even the statistics nod to the brilliance here. Despite a 1.9 mph headwind in the U23 final, Gout clocked a 20.10, signaling true speed, one that under neutral conditions could translate to sub-20 territory. This was no timid junior performance. It was a calculated architectural step toward elite-level times. Contrast that with Lyles, who jumped straight into the deep end of Monaco's senior final and crushed it. That wasn't risk avoidance. That was mastery reasserted. But Gout's team didn't need that. Not yet. Track insiders echoed this in forums like Reddit, where fans debated the choice. Gout could have raced seniors, maybe he's not ready. But others argued the opposite, calling it a smart developmental choice to build confidence before heading into those high-risk matchups. Even at Monaco, Gout himself hinted this wasn't a concession. In ABC's coverage, he said the U23 race was about getting my feet out there. I want to compete against everyone. Noah Lyles, Tebogo, everyone out there. It's a message. Yes, he's here. Yes, he's good. But no rush on the main stage. That in itself is his power. Two teenagers, one builds tension by stepping aside, another explodes back in. Both are chasing the same goal, to reach the top. So what does this mean? The path to greatness isn't always vertical. Sometimes the smartest sprint isn't the fastest one. When the spotlight fell on Monaco's famous track, it wasn't just Gout Gout's time that echoed. It was the decisions around it. The headlines were glitzy. In the senior 200 May, Noah Lyles roared back with a commanding 19.88 seconds, besting Olympic 100 meter champion Lyles Tebogo, right where legends are made. Gout Gout? He wasn't even on that list. He raced later and away from the crowd's eye. That contrast set the internet alight. Some fans on Reddit and Twitter weren't kind. Comments like, "For a 17-year-old, and U23 race is kinda a big boy event. Why not the open race?" Others rallied in defense. Could be confidence, could be school schedule. This race was about the experience. Even American coach Noah Williams accused the teen phenom of ducking world-class competition. But Aussie peer Lachlan Kennedy countered, "It's not dodge, it's strategy. He's 17, still in school, and needs to learn before leaping." A photo did the rounds. Gout alongside F1 star Oscar Piastri. The image broke the internet in Australia, literally, and reinforced the contrast. A teenage sprinter choosing comfort and growth. A global icon in Lyles choosing risk and resurgence. Online, the debate became sharper. Reddit threads floated analytics. Gout's 1.9 mph headwind in Monaco meant his 20.10 seconds was more like a 19.8. As fast as some elite open times. People even adjusted his time next to Lyles' 1988, sparking speculation. He didn't avoid the elite. He just rewrote the rulebook. And to the growing legion of fans, Gout simply said nothing spectacular. No interviews, no hype. Just walk-offs, emoji replies, and confidence that his next stop would be the big stage. Here's what unfolded. Critics questioned his courage. Analysts praised his self-awareness. Peers encouraged patience. Yet they all agreed. this was not a throwaway race. It was a breakthrough. Now ask yourself, what's more impressive? A veteran retrieving glory as Noah Lyles labeled the spotlight stalker, or a teenager pulling all the right strings behind the scenes? Noah's return was loud, immediate, and unmistakably senior. Gout's debut was silent, but shockingly effective. That silence? It's part of the power. Gout Gout's camp isn't hiding, they're calculating. And Monaco's quietest moment might yet turn out to be the loudest strategic play of this season. It's a chessboard in cleats. Out here, winning isn't just about raw speed. It's about timing, confidence, and handling expectations. Up next, we unpack how this careful rise positions Gout, not just as tomorrow's sprinter, but as the man to watch at Tokyo, Doha, and beyond. You can't teach instinct, you can't coach timing, and you certainly can't fake a race like Gout Gout's in Monaco. But what happens next? Gout is no longer just a promising junior. He's now running world-class times that would qualify for senior global finals. And while most 17-year-olds are still figuring out prom dates and graduation speeches, he's carving a path into a world that doesn't forgive hesitation or hype without delivery. Let's be clear, his 2010 into a 1.9 headwind isn't just impressive, it's historic. No other 17-year-old in recent memory has dropped a time like that under those conditions. On a calm track, that performance translates into sub-20 potential, territory usually reserved for Olympic finalists and seasoned pros. But what makes Gout Gout's future so intriguing isn't just the speed, it's the way he's choosing to climb. He didn't bite off too much in Monaco. He didn't let ego put him in the deep end of a Diamond League final when he and his team knew he could make a louder statement by winning somewhere else. That choice showed maturity, strategy, and long-term thinking, traits rarely seen in teenagers on the rise. And that's what sets him apart, because track and field is brutal. Athletes burn out, they peak too soon, they get devoured by the hype machine and left behind. For every Usain Bolt or Noah Lyles, there are dozens of young stars who fizzled out before they ever really arrived. But Gout seems different. He's building momentum, not begging for it. And if he keeps his head down and his time's dropping, he could arrive at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo not as a wild card, but as a legitimate contender. The Olympic cycle is starting to spin again, and the men's 200-meter is wide open for disruption. By this time next year, he could be sharing lanes with Noah Lyles and Letsili Tebogo, not as a sideshow, but as a threat. Of course, it's never guaranteed. Gout still needs to manage the pressures that come with fame. He'll need to stay healthy, grounded, and coached by people who see the big picture. But if Monaco was any indication, his circle understands exactly what they're doing. And maybe that's what Monaco really was, a mission statement. Not to win headlines, but to control them. Not to chase validation, but to earn it. And not to beat Noah Lyles, but to prove he might one day belong on that same track and win. This wasn't a debut. It was a warning. Gout Gout is coming, quietly, carefully, and fast.